Union Springs. That's where she went to school.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
And you're a science teacher there.
Yeah, I teach science and technology.
Okay. And you're an inventor.
Yes.
This is really cool. Explain what you have created.
Sure.
Can you see it on? Are you able to see it on TV?
You might have to move it over.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But either way, we'll get pictures and post them. It'd be hard for you to.
I'll be honest. This is bigger than I thought.
Well, yeah. Explain
it's
what
huge.
explain what we have here.
Sure. So what you have here is a collection system. It's really a two-part system. The first part is the techniques that you use to pull them out of the grass. So there's a few different tool items that I developed. One of them is the roller. Current methods for collecting ticks, basically for universities, is they drag a 1 meter by 1 meter cloth. They then examine how many ticks are on it. The problem with that is that you expose yourself as you're walking through the grass because you're either holding it off to the side or you're dragging it behind you. Mm-hmm. By developing the roller, you're pushing the roller in front of you.
So it's picking it up before you.
Exactly.
That's big.
So, and it's nice because it doesn't create that frictional surface. If you're dragging something, there's friction to it.
Right.
And these things really cling, so it's not necessarily that they're falling off, but by rolling with it, they once they adhere to it, they stay right on it until I collect them in the system.
And how does it differentiate between ticks and grubs or anything else?
Well, the surface here simulates like animal fur.
Oh, okay.
And so when a tick it's called questing. So what they do is they climb up onto the top of the grass and they stick out their front legs. Really creepy. And they have little hooks at the end of their legs. And as anything passes by, and that's why even your legs, anything that they can grab on, they don't differentiate. So they're not intelligent where they're like, well, that's a human, that's a deer, that's a rabbit. But they will cling on to anything that they can that's moving because that's, to them, a potential host. And so what happens is because they're questing, this rides on top of the grass. Mm-hmm. So primarily the only thing that's on top of the grass questing is the ticks. Occasionally I will pull out slugs, fleas, some smaller insects, but primarily what this grabs is the ticks as they're trying to cling onto you.
That is unbelievable.
Oh, it's
and
such a
the beauty
creepy
is and the beauty is happening. Whatever happened to the days? By the way, the beauty is it's happening in front of you, so it's trapping, it's getting the ticks before you walk over it, so you're not
much safer collection method than normally it's the poor college kid working with the university that's walking through and he's collecting them.
Yeah,
this is much safer way to do it.
And they're saying this year has been awful because they'll go through and pull out hundreds of ticks on a simple sweep.
Yes, yeah. There's really two seasons during the year. There's the spring and the fall season. Basically, the first ticks that I ended up capturing were in March, right after we had 1 inch of snow. So as soon as the snow starts to melt away, if you can see the grass, there's the danger of ticks. So I had some in March. I call them more in April. May is the worst month. That's where you want to really avoid any tall grasses at all.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. I just left a garden this year. I just decided I'm not even going to take a chance. Just let it grow wild. That's what I wanted to plant a garden there, but it got up to the point where I didn't catch it in time. And I guess I could have sprayed, but then I want to plant a garden there, and I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, that's the problem. Until you come up with a mechanical solution, the only solution was indiscriminate spraying of chemicals.
Yeah.
So I mean, if
you're killing everything, then
you're killing everything, and not only that, but if I came to your yard and I'm spraying, if you asked me, sir, how many ticks did I have in my yard, or how many did you kill? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the beauty with the collection system is you can see them in the tank. You know how many I caught when I'm there.
In just a few minutes, we're going to take it outside, and we'll do it after the news break. Take it outside and try to see what we have out in the backyard here.
Sure.
And you could be, especially the push mower is probably you're more apt to pick up to get a tick, right?
Right. So the most dangerous time period in your yard is the day that you cut your grass because it's at optimal height. So that's why I ended up developing two models. One model attaches to a zero-turn commercial lawnmower. It has to be in front because what happens is you end up shooting out the ticks off to the exhaust.
Right.
And so what you need to do, and plus you don't want to capture grass clippings. Grass clippings will cling to this just as easy as ticks will.
Okay.
So you need it in front. It's pre-cut.
Right.
And then all you have to do is then activate the machine, pulls them off. You can either radiate them. It's a UVC lamp.
Yeah.
So it's a sterilization lamp. It's the same thing we use for drinking water. So you can kill not only the tick, but you kill the viruses and bacteria that they carry.
Oh, wow. I have to ask you, I know that you went to school with Chris Foley, Kid Chris.
Yeah.
And which is how Chris is a good friend of mine, and which is how I got a hold of you. And how is it that you two both went to the same school, and you took the path of being an inventor, and we ended down this road of radio? Oh, boy.
We both were characters.
I'll bet.
We both were characters. But, I always had that natural curiosity of building things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I ended up taking it down a different path.
And we've always had the curiosity of talking about people who build things. So it all works. Just works. I do think this is really unbelievable. This could be, as I'm sure you realize, this could be a huge moneymaker here for you.
It could, absolutely, but
Somebody signs on to this. Now, does the school own it, or do you own it?
No, I own
It's
it.
yours. Good.
I developed this last year. My niece contracted Lyme disease, unbeknownst to her at the time,
my
and she
God.
suffered partial paralysis. She was
Oh,
paralyzed.
boy. Wow.
And she was in the hospital for a month. And my brother-in-law is a professional landscaper, owns his own business, and I ran into him incidentally, and he's like, my daughter's in the hospital, and so I said, you know what? Let me come up with something. Everyone in the family knows I invent. So
Yeah.
I said, you know what? Give me a couple of weeks. Let me see if I can come up with something.
How is she doing?
She's doing much better. She's recovered, but it was scary. It was scary for my brother-in-law. So
And you can have health.
Everybody.
You can have things that happen through your whole life after getting Lyme disease. So it's
you can have
Yeah.
chronic illness, but even a little bit more scarier than that is the Passana virus. That was found in southern New York, and
is this the one that 25% or 20% of people or animals die? That they're clusters of ticks.
It has the last study that I read. It has a 10% mortality rate.
That's what it is. 10%.
So
Wow.
it's scary. So 1 in 10 may die as a result. It inflames the brain tissue. So and that one is a little scarier in that traditionally for the tick to transmit the Lyme disease, it has to be on you approximately 24 hours. And so generally, if you're really aware and you do your tick checks, you'll end up finding them.
Mm-hmm.
Problem with the Passana virus, it transmits in 15 minutes.
Wow. And here's the other problem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the ticks actually are able to multiply without a male-female connection.
Yeah, and they'll go up to 1,000 to 3,000 eggs at a time.
Wow.
So the females, the females are generally the ones that you end up capturing because they need the blood meal to lay the eggs.
Okay.
So the more blood that they're able to extract from the host, the greater the concentration of eggs.
And animals especially have been down in southern New York, down on the coast, Long Island, down that way. They have, and clusters of them have bitten into an animal.
Yeah, you could see the photos. They get into the ears, and then it looks like cauliflower. As many as they can to get into them.
So this is really quick. I just want to see the way that it works is you roll it and then almost like vacuum the ticks off of the roller pad. Is that kind of how the idea behind it?
There's handheld items. I created, like the super feather duster. So what this does is normally people have raised planting beds and foliage, and so they can't help but to cling to this. So let's say you're going to go work over in your plant bed. You could just hit your foliage underneath and such.
Almost like you're dusting.
Exact, just like you're dusting. They'll cling right to it. So there's several different methods. There's little drag sheets that I came up with so you could drop over top of foliage. They traditionally don't climb taller than 24 inches above the ground.
Okay.
So, but you have to come up with a few methods to extract them. The biggest one is the lawn. That's where most of the children end up.
Yeah. Remember when you used to just be able to lay out you'd go lay out on the lawn as a kid. Have ticks? Have we run into this as a new problem? I don't remember it when I was a kid being such a big problem.
It is a relatively new problem.
Yeah.
You know, I graduated in 92, and back then, in the fall, you could end up collecting leaves in the leaf piles, and you jump in them and have a whole bunch of fun. Today, I would not recommend that at all because the peak season for the fall is October. Just when you're making your leaf piles.
Okay. Yeah.
So people really need to be informed that is not the time to have kids jump in there.
I do everything with shorts. I mow my lawn with shorts and all of this. It's probably not the smartest thing to do, right?
No. Generally, July and August, what you'll see is a decline because, again, it goes up, peaks in May, then it starts to decline in June. The summer... You can still get them, but it's much more difficult than it is in the spring and the fall. And now, my wife, I was out of town. I'm also a PhD student. So I was at my last residency in Atlanta, and I wasn't home to roll the yard, which I do every week.
Yeah.
My wife had ticks all over her
from
just pushing the push mower.
Wow.
And so now I posted. I had a Facebook site, and that's where Chris called on to me. So I post to all my friends. Look, the fall season apparently has begun.
Already.
So now you can't even use a push mower because you're endangering yourself.
Yeah, you push mow your lawn all the time. You never think about this.
Two things. I never think about this. I do check, but I've never had a tick. Where do you live?
I live in Kirkville.
Okay.
I live in Kirkville.
Is it very rural and woody?
Well, at the back end of my property, I do have woods. So, but it's basically a misconception is that it's only in areas where there's woods. It's not, because they can be carried by birds, squirrels, rabbits. So unless you can control
Somebody
all those
said
animals,
if you have deer that come through your yard, then you definitely have.
You definitely have them.
That's
the preferred host. They're really on a 2-year cycle, but they really are looking for the deer, and that's the problem.
How about golfers?
Yeah, well, even state parks, anything like that, large properties like that. I had lots of friends that stopped bringing their animals to Green Lakes because the dogs always had ticks on them.
All right, I want to break, and then when we come back, we're going to go to the backyard, and we'll see what we have in the backyard. All right?
Okay.
Pretty wild. Shark Tank. Right? I mean,
maybe.
Yeah. Or the Fountainhead Group. I mean,
I was just thinking about that.
There's a company here that deals in all sorts of. There's big things in your future here. Pretty excited.